All right, let's get started. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Additions to the agenda, I have one. We need to have an executive session that will be, we'll put it at the end of new business right before old business starts. That's attorney-client privileged information.
So moved. Second?
Moved and seconded to add an executive session at the end of new business. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Anybody else have any additions?
You have to take something off.
Oh yeah, we gotta take, setting the tax rate off, because we don't have the info from the state in time, and we're also gonna remove the fire department update as they are covering for Greenfield and cannot be with us. That's it for that. My remarks, I want to say thank you to Hannah Gant and everybody that volunteered and donated to the town picnic. Specifically, a few different businesses that were large donors, Entergy, Triple T, Miller Farm, North Star Group Services, and Big Eyes Property Maintenance. Thank you very much to everyone that donated. We just wanted to highlight those that donated a significant amount of money, and we very much appreciate it. All right, guests. We don't have any guests tonight. Open public comments, non-agenda items. Seeing none. Department committee reports. David, Highway Department bids.
I feel like you're spending a lot of time next to me here.
I am. This is paving Newton Road, Fox Hill, and all of Fox Hill and Newton Road. This year's paving. And actually, Mitchell is $6 a ton less than it was last year.
Really? Even with oil being what it is.
And Mitchell's just did Huckle Hill, is that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That was supposed to be done last year, but it got too cold and I pulled the plug. But then it warmed up after.
That was a nice ride up over Huckle Hill the other day. Good job.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I move
ma'am.
that we award the bid for paving for 2018 to Mitchell Sand and Gravel for not to exceed $247,473.30. Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll get it right. To accept Mitchell Sand and Gravel's bid not to exceed $247,473.30. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? There we go. Do that. What else you got for me?
Oh, no, you got approval of minutes and stuff. I'm on new business, the next two.
You can just stay right here if you want.
Okay.
It won't take us long. All right. Approval of regular meeting minutes from June 19th.
Just a couple of typos. On the second page, consideration and documents down the bottom. Misspelled.
Ah!
Yep.
That's what I think I saw.
Okay. Anything else?
Move we accept the minutes Tuesday, June 19th with the corrections.
Second?
Moved and seconded to accept the regular meeting minutes from Tuesday, June 19th as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Bills and warrants.
I move we authorize payment of the following bills and warrants. 25T accounts payable, $246,206.55. That's the final warrant for fiscal year 17-18. And then 1T, which will be the start of this fiscal year, $142,197.50. 25S payroll, $7,963.52. And 26S payroll, $11,790.44.
Second?
Moved and seconded to accept the warrants as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Wait, who seconded? I did.
Okay. So, the next thing on our list is a signage request on Tyler Hill Road from, who's this from?
William
Cram. Mr. William Cram. I don't know if you guys had time to read it, but
I don't understand all this.
Just so everyone's aware, when we did that signage, it was done for what the state wanted.
So,
But there are some things we can do. In fact, there's two new, well, they're called chevrons, the arrows, as you get right in the corner. I only had two, so that's, till I get more in.
yeah.
that's your suggestion? I'm okay with that.
Wait, did you put up 2 new ones, just so I can respond to him? So that,
Yep.
okay.
Since,
it also
since,
says-
since we got this request? Okay.
And it does mention in there about cyclists too, and I've talked to people that travel down it. That's gonna be a little more trickier, because a lot of them don't look up, they just ride down, so they would want signs lower. But we'll deal with it as,
What's your opinion overall on it?
well, hopefully the new signage will help.
So is he, doesn't the speed limit stays 35 the whole road, but he's got a request for part of it to be 25, which,
Just yellow warning sign.
yeah, so I probably don't go 35 coming down there, because you tend to be slower than that anyways, but it is, right now, we're 35 all the way, right?
Yeah.
This is-
And I got that yellow warning sign for 25 on order. We didn't have. I'm gonna put it right under the other warning sign he was talking about for the windy, curvy road.
Oh,
Okay.
So hopefully with everything, they'll,
Makes
so
sense.
there is a sign suggesting 25, is that right?
up
Or-
further,
Oh, up further.
on the first one by Viking.
Oh.
This is the next one down, below Deers.
Sure. Okay. I'm happy with that solution. Everybody happy?
With the arrows then?
Yeah,
Yep,
with the additional signage, that should take care of
okay.
Mr. Crane's concerns, or at least provide something additional. Municipal roads, general permit. So this is the bane of my existence right now. Basically, the state wants us to give them a bunch of money for no reason. And we don't really have any way to tell them no, because their penalties are more than, because I called him and said, what if I just don't pay you?
Really?
Yeah. Yep. And they said, well, then you will have penalties that are more than the cost of our fees. So,
Just so everybody's aware, we're better off in a lot of towns because of 2 developments. We've been in it a lot longer.
yeah.
You don't have that road erosion inventory then? I mean, you've got inventory,
No,
everything
actually, we
else.
are going around doing it, Jeff Lynch
Okay.
and I from Windham Regional.
Okay. Unless I
We've
thought you
got more
inventory
than
everything.
3/4 done. A lot of things they looked at. Lower part of Blodgett Road, because it's a big culvert, that's just spring runoff. It's not a stream, and the state's saying a stream. So there's a lot of things that are showing up that's not, it's gonna help us. Worst nightmare, Governor Hunt Road, Broad Road. Yep.
So, we don't need to make a motion of this, right? We're just,
You have to sign for the choice.
we
Well,
gotta,
it needs to be signed to pay it unless you
Yeah.
just want me to sign it.
yeah, go ahead and sign it. We gotta pay it. Like I said, I had a very frank conversation with the guy from DOE and said, what if I just don't wanna do this? And he said, well, I appreciate your frankness, and you're the first one to call me and ask me that.
The only thing with this, they did change it. There's supposed to be a set price per town. This was supposed to happen a year ago.
Yeah, they changed it
Then
by.
they changed, but they went by mileage now and population.
Yep,
Yeah.
so
And-
it's really gonna nail some towns
And
that
I'm gonna
have
say
small
this,
populations.
homeowners might wanna hang on, because if they go like some states, homeowners are gonna be paying too.
Yeah. So it's about a $2,000 expense to help clean up Lake Champlain, which we have no runoff into.
Well, they're saying Long Island Sound for us, because Connecticut
Yes,
River.
yeah. But I know better than that, because I talked to the lady at the Connecticut River Conservancy, and they're getting very little money out of this to actually do the Connecticut River cleanup. It's all going wrong, as usual.
And there is money for that.
Yeah. So,
It's in the highway. So that was,
so if you want to sign it, that's fine. Is everybody okay with Michelle signing this?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. We move on.
Thank you.
Thanks,
yep.
Dave. Risk exposure versus workman's comp.
I did as you requested, and I called 7 towns. I'll pass these along to take them and consider. While I'm doing that, I'll explain what I found out. I called, one town was not aware of this situation as they haven't had their workers' comp audit, so they thanked me for the heads up. Two towns said that they were going to go with professional services requiring workers' comp. One town said they were not really aware because they don't use them that often, but had, going forward, they had decided they would share the risk exposure with the subcontractor, splitting it in half, requiring the subcontractor to pay half of the risk exposure and the town would pay the other half. 3 other ones said they would be paying the risk exposure. One of the big reasons that they were willing to do that is they said it was a trust issue, especially the 2 that had people coming into the town office building to clean or do what other type of work they do, because they said we're giving keys to our town office building. We trust the people we use. We've used them for a number of years, and we prefer to pay the risk exposure than to go with strangers and have them in our building. And the 3rd one didn't give that as a reason, but said they would be paying the risk exposure as well. So those were you've got a list of the 7 towns I called and the responses I received.
So for the one that's going with the professional services, are they already doing that?
No, going forward. And the same with the 4th one down, going forward, they will be requiring workers' compensation. The other 4 were willing to pay the risk exposure because they trust the people that work for them and they want to keep the relationship going. As you recall, if you don't have it, I have another copy. I gave you a copy of what last year's wages were and what the risk exposure would be, and the Medicaid, or FICA Medi would be. If you went and did like the 4 towns are, and split it, then half of that would be the cost of the town, and then we would ask the subcontractor to pay the other part of it. So we wouldn't be completely, and it would be cheaper for them than having to buy workers' comp, which is very expensive. So That's what I found out based on your request last time.
Chris, thoughts? We'll get to you. Promise.
I'm not sure my opinion's changed on it.
Which
As far as the requiring them to carry it or going and hiring
Going
people that already
to
have a.
A professional
Yeah.
services stance, yeah.
So you
Jeff?
would rather them coming in with it already in places, I can't remember what you would have wanted.
That we would go with professional services that carry their
Their
own
own
insurance.
I can tell you that the people that said that they would be going that way, said they also were aware that they would probably be paying more than what they were paying with the subcontractors that they usually have, because people add that into their cost, so.
Jeff?
I agree with Chris.
Sandy?
I like the idea of splitting it, because if you look at what we spent last year, you know, we could have covered that. If we split it, we could have covered that with what we didn't spend.
Ones that plow for the elderly assistance, do they get a set rate, or are they charging their going
No,
rate?
they give a set rate that's set by elderly assistance.
Okay. I mean, I wonder how you were gonna find someone that's insured properly to do all these little driveways, because traditionally it's just, you know, guys in town that do it.
And certainly not, if you hire someone that has workers' comp, they're probably not gonna accept what we pay.
No. And the factor that you know, step up to bigger companies and you're gonna get way bigger prices.
Correct.
So I guess I would say, you know, to put it out there to split the risk exposure price with the town and the contractor. It's not too bad for most of them.
So what happens if we split that and there's damage caused at somebody's property? Who is held responsible for that?
That's not workers' comp.
Yeah, that's not workers' comp. The company, if someone is plowing and they damage someone's property, they're responsible for
The
it.
plowing company's liable. This is all- this
But
is
when
all
we're
just-
talking about personal residents that are doing this plowing, then who
They
does
have-
that fall on?
It falls, if they damage the property
Or probably fault
of
of
the
their
person
homeowners.
they're plowing, it falls on them to take care of it. We've had that happen.
Okay,
Their liability.
Their liability
Because they give you a
insurance.
certificate of liability.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
okay.
That we have to have.
Okay, all right.
I agree with you too, that we go with professional services, and I say that we team up with Guilford to do so. Maybe talk with their select board and see if we can get some of these professional services to do a 2-for-1 deal. We're right next to each other, and that we all kind of utilize the same services for the most part, with the exception of obviously the plowing for elderly assistance, but
Well, what do you-
everything else wise.
Are you going to offer, are you going to contact the people that you currently have under contract to give them the option to, you know, if they want to get the workers' comp?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
And then I don't know what you can do about the plowing situation. I mean, obviously, we don't have to address it right now, it's too
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's something we have to think about if you're gonna do that with some people, are you gonna do it with all people?
Oh, yeah, yeah, it'll be across the board. That's why.
I think we negate the purpose of the elderly assistance at that point.
You do? The people that plow, they don't get paid a lot
We don't.
at all, and you're
So
not,
could half of that risk exposure come out of the elderly assistant for,
Well, I'm thinking that too, because they
Yeah.
get pretty heavily
Absolutely.
funded from us.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so.
You're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're paying it out of taxes one way or the other.
Oh, I think you're gonna be upping your costs quite a bit,
Yes.
going some other routes.
I do too. And there's not the option to give the elderly people the money and have them hire their own people, because then they get a 1099.
And we can afford that.
It's considered income. Because we tried that quite a few years ago. We tried issuing a check to the people,
Gotcha.
saying, okay, we'll give you the money, you pay the person, then it's your person. And it didn't work out because they got 1099s because it was $600 and they had to claim it as income.
So they can afford it.
So, can't,
I mean, I'm not sure that other towns even have like this kind of elderly assistance
No, it doesn't
deal
exist
going
anywhere
on,
else.
and, you know, they're
Well,
getting.
we've always been a
cheap
town.
plowing,
When I
you
was
know.
researching Gadsby way back in the books, we've always been a town that's helped out our elderly, our poor, our sick.
Well, the other thing with the elderly assistance, and I don't, mean to speak badly of the program, but there is no income requirements. I mean, you can be getting $100,000 a year in Medicaid and apply for the elderly assistance program and receive it, because there is no limitation
Well,
on
that's
that.
not really quite right. I
So-
They must have their
I can
program
I
thing
could
on.
be fairly certain that everybody that gets plowed, probably not all of them are destitute and can't afford it. But that's the way the program was set up and that's the way it's run. So that's the other piece to the puzzle.
Uh-huh. I'm not sure that I realized what came from qualified, so.
There is no qualifications. If you're over
Age.
55,
I'm not,
No,
No,
I think it's
65.
65.
65, if you're over 65 and you need a ramp built because you in a wheelchair, or you want
Well, that's.
your
it
lawn
means
plowed, you call them and
That things like that
They do it.
are decisions on those things, like building a ramp or putting on a roof, decisions are made on a case-to-case basis. It's not just across the board. Yeah, we'll do it. You want a ramp? We're gonna go with.
I don't think we've ever told anybody no.
I think we
Elderly
have.
assistance has.
They haven't since I've been here.
I don't think you'd know that because we meet privately, so you wouldn't know if we refused someone or not.
Yeah. I hear a lot.
Are you on, you're on that board,
Yes, I
right?
am, so is Sandy.
So you must have like your, whatever, little bylaws or whatever for your committee? Or some kind of rules, or?
We meet, we talk about the people that have made requests. We decide if there's different avenues we can point them toward, different programs we can point them toward. And if there is, we do, and we even have had, helped them with that, get
Mhm.
qualified for those. And then if there's a situation where they really need the help and there's no avenue they can go to, then we make a decision on whether we want to help them and how much we want to help. It's an individual basis, each one.
To move this along, I would make a motion that we go with the risk half, that we share it.
Moved and seconded to
Beat it to death.
pay half of the risk exposure for our services. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay.
So what just happened?
It's 3-2.
Nothing.
Turned down.
Nothing.
Well, we gotta figure out what we're doing though.
Make a decision what you want.
Go for it.
I make a motion that we hire
want us to
professional
issue letters?
services to fulfill these positions that,
Well, I have a question on that. House, the only one that's not covered is the owner.
He's
That's
the
right.
owner, and
He
that
carries
means-
on everybody else.
He does carry it on everyone else, but that means he cannot do
Right.
a inkling of work on our property.
Right. So are we going to just break his contract?
I think we need to send letters to these people and tell them this is what we found out, explain the situation, and ask them what they want to do before we make a decision.
Yeah.
We don't have
Put
a
it out
written
there to them.
contract with House on the town property,
But you
but they
do-
do with cemetery.
With the cemetery
And
property.
there's an out, I think it's a 60-day?
They have they have a 3-year contract. There is a 60-day, but I think common courtety
Ready for my
says that you
compromise?
at least give them the option.
Yes, I totally agree with that, because we shouldn't be making those decisions for them.
Okay. I have a compromise.
Okay, so,
So I make a motion that we do the risk exposure at 100% cost to the vendors. So those folks that have the ability, like House, to not have somebody on property, doesn't have to pay the $1,706 because his guys are already covered. He stays off property, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But the rest of them have to cover their risk exposure in full. Because it's cheaper than workers' comp for their people.
I'll second that motion.
But how does that work with the first one here that has no workers' comp? On big guys.
Then they pay the full
Then they
amount
pay
of
the
work.
full amount of the risk exposure, he said. That's what his
Right,
motion was.
but because they're an actual business, can we still legally?
Well, his people, only he can do it. His people, his employees are not under any circumstances allowed to, because it's against the law in the state of Vermont, not to cover your employees.
Okay, so that's what I was asking.
Which is what we went through last year, and we told him under no circumstances was he allowed to have his employees working as long as he didn't carry workers' comp on them.
And if you look down at number 3 of old business on this agenda, the town office lawn care is being RFP'd, so.
All
Well,
right,
he does our snow.
He does he does the snow removal right now.
so that was moved and seconded, correct?
Yes, moved and seconded. So now we're in discussion phase.
Good idea.
Any further discussion? Everybody's happy with full risk exposure? And if they don't have to pay it because they have their proper workers' comp, then they don't have to pay. It's easy as that.
Well, it's not that easy, because as an owner, you are at a very high rate for workers' comp. As a sole proprietor to get workers' comp on yourself.
Well, but they don't
very
have to have
high.
workers' comp because they're just paying the risk
He said
exposure.
they-
For them,
Yeah,
Yes.
so we're only gonna make them?
No.
what I'm saying is, see the cost of the risk exposure
Yeah.
next to each person?
Right.
They have to cover that cost 100%.
Exactly.
This is a
But
lot
when-
less than workman's comp.
That's a
This
lot
one-
less
this is
than
a
workers' comp.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
it is, yeah. Still kinda makes a chunk out of, they're not getting that much to begin with.
So,
I guess that's
That big of a loss.
the best we can do.
And remember, the other option, right, was to hire them as employees.
Just hire them as employees
That
and
was
put them on
the other
payroll.
option.
Then you pay the
Just
Medicaid,
didn't want to forget about that.
yeah.
FICA.
So we have a motion on the table, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the risk and exposure at 100% to our vendors, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? There, that's done. So, rebalance of the LSG Brooks, Marsh, and Scott Noyes funds. Do you want to fill us in?
Well, what happened was I went on to Edward Jones to do some accounting work, and I noticed that he had rebalanced Alice J. Brooks, Scott Noyes, and the Marsh Fund. They are not cemetery funds. The motion that was made, when he came and made his presentation, he said cemetery funds. He talked to the cemetery fund committee. The motion was made and passed to do the cemeteries, so I contacted him and I said, you can't do that. You can't do anything with money unless it's been voted on. So he put everything back the way it was. And we want to know what you guys want to do. If you want to go ahead and do it, that's fine.
Okay, so the
But
funds,
the gun was jumped before the decision was
Yeah.
made.
so the funds aren't rebalanced at this point. He put them back the way
Yeah.
they were.
Well, I called him the same day it happened, so he was able to undo what he did before it
Okay.
affected anything.
So just so everybody's aware, I sent him a letter to that effect of these funds were rebalanced without the approval of the select board. This can't happen going forward. Need clear communication of what's going on with the finances of the town, blah, blah, blah. So he'll get that in his inbox in a couple of days. So the rebalancing, in your opinion, makes sense,
It does.
but we just
Like
need
it,
to
yes.
make the motion to that effect to allow him to do that.
Right.
So,
So moved.
Second.
moved and seconded to allow Edwards Jones to rebalance the Alice J. Brooks Fund, Marsh, and Scott Noyes funds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those
Well, thank you
opposed?
for catching that so fast, Cindy.
You're welcome.
It was really fast.
It's
Did you second
amazing.
that, Chris?
So WRC, thank you, Cindy.
Okay, thank you.
WRC representative resignation, John Lonardo. We need to accept his resignation from Windham Regional Commission.
And I apologize, we don't have anything in writing, but he has moved up. Which is why it's
Move that we accept it with regrets.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the resignation of the WRC representative, John Lonardo. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Executive session, please.
I move to find premature general public knowledge of the confidential attorney-client communications would clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage, that we go into executive session. Well, I moved it that we find that. That's first motion.
Yes.
That has to be seconded.
Second.
Moved and seconded to find the premature knowledge of attorney blah, blah, blah. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. I move that we go into executive session to discuss the confidential attorney-client communications with our administrator under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes. It's number 12.
Second. Who seconded the first one?
I did.
Thank you.
Gene seconded this one. Moved and seconded to go into executive session for the reason read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
That's number 12.
We are in executive session. Into executive session at 7:02, out at 7:20. No action was taken. So liquor license request, Nesbitt Portside Tavern.
Chairman, I make a motion that we table that until the next meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded to table liquor license request. Any discussion? So we'll tell you why we're tabling it. There's a couple of different reasons. One, there is debate on whether you own the name Nesbitt's Portside Tavern at this point. So we need proof of that because that's on your liquor license. And also, you took on a business partner, Jesse, don't know his last name off the top of my head. And,
Not business, building.
okay,
Has
So-
nothing to do with the business.
because I got an email from the liquor inspector today
Yeah,
saying
I know.
that,
They were all there today.
let me finish.
Okay.
I got an email from the liquor inspector today saying that this gentleman is now 51% owner of Nesbitt's Portside Tavern. This came from the liquor inspector, I didn't make it up. You can all forward the email to Michelle so you can take a look at it for yourself if you'd like. So therefore, if this gentleman is 51% owner, he needs to be included on the liquor license as well. If he's not, then you need to.
It's the building.
Okay. Then
Has
you need
nothing
to
to do with
provide,
liquor
then you
license.
need to provide me proof that what you told the liquor inspector is not correct. So that's it. Those are the two reasons that we're tabling it. The
Fair
business name and
That's fine.
the owner name, we need to
That's
have
fine.
proof.
Has nothing to do with the business. This is whatever.
Okay. Moving on. Vernon
Take
historians.
action on that motion.
Oh, yeah. Moved and seconded to table liquor license request for Nesbitt's Portside Tavern. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Vernon historians, insurance discussion and lease. Do we have anyone here from the historians?
There are no Vernon historians here.
So we have a packet of information. Where is it?
I give it to you at the
Oh, you
beginning
give it to
of
us
the
at the beginning.
Untitled Chapter.
Basically, the long and the short of it is they got their insurance. They did not sign the lease,
Oh, wait.
right?
Yeah, did I not give you one? Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
you did, I just can't find it for some reason.
Yeah, mine.
But I know the reason, so
They signed a waiver.
I know what it says. So now we're looking into VLCT that with the waiver and their insurance, whether that is good enough, right? That's basically where we're at. We don't really have to we don't have any actions to take at this point until we understand from VLCT with what's been done, is that enough?
Right. I mean, we have been told specifically that we needed both a lease and a waiver, so that we wouldn't be responsible for the contents. We gave them a lease, a signed lease from the select board, and they've elected not to sign it. So now we're kind of backpedaling to see if we can do anything else, but we were told that we needed a lease.
Okay.
So I don't know what's gonna happen next.
So we got 2 out of 3, and we're gonna see if VLCT was accept 2 out of 3. Okay, town office lawn care RFP. So you have this in your packet as well.
Is this, I didn't have a chance to look, is this the same RFP that you used last year? Which was interesting, because there were a lot of things that were never done before.
And do we need to change with,
Because
I did change some of this.
with the decisions that were made tonight with the liability insurance and risk, we need to change that portion of the contract?
Right, we'll add the risk exposure expense underneath the insurance section. So, I mean, I would hate to table this because we're getting into summer and we have no signed contract.
House has a TFN to continue mowing until
Okay.
they hear different. Because it has to be done. So do we want to approve this tonight with the correction of adding the risk exposure expense?
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded to accept the RFP with the addition of risk exposure expense. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so we're good there. Friends of Vernon, agreement and resolution. I heard there's new developments. Come
Yeah.
talk to us.
This has been a saga. I gather you did hear from Larry Slayson on this?
I heard through the grapevine. I didn't hear directly through Larry. I heard through Michelle, who heard from Larry.
Okay,
Or somebody, I don't know.
all right.
Everything eventually gets to me.
Well, so here's where, I talked to Larry yesterday because he had questions. And so we kind of went through it, and my understanding is that Larry recommended to you that, hey, this is a good project, this should be done. The resolution and the agreement are fine, except I believe he recommended one change of word to make it something to be the sole discretion of the town instead of the discretion of the town. But that, and that, you know, there's an insurance question that should be addressed, so that the Friends should be added to the VLCT policy as an insured party, and that the Friends themselves should have insurance as well, which we intend to do. All that being said, and kind of presuming that you might be favorably inclined to go along with that, we have had our own discussion this morning and decided to put this process on hold. and not to go forward with the current application to the IRS for 501c3 status, because there's really no guarantee that this particular maneuver, this agreement and resolution will actually sufficiently impress the IRS examiner. And if we get to the end of the process and they look at that and they say no, then it's very hard to sort of recover from that. Whereas what we'd like to do is basically ask them to suspend this application without prejudice, which means that, we don't get demerits for having applied and then withdrawn the application. And then to regroup and apply again at a later point. And at that point, we would be applying from scratch. So we don't have all the baggage of the existing application, which they didn't like and had questions about. And all that stuff would basically be off the record and we'd start again. At least that's the hope. Meanwhile, we met last week with VCRD upstairs here when they were in town for a board meeting, and they came to visit and find out everything that's going on in Vernon with the village center. We got an offer from the Preservation Trust, Historic Preservation Trust, is that what it's called?
Preservation Trust of Vermont.
Of Vermont, to, if we want to do fundraising, to operate under their fiscal sponsorship or fiscal umbrella, which is a sort of a standard thing that some groups and organizations and projects do rather than getting their own status. That's not ideal in the long run, but it would let us get started if we want to get started at some point with fundraising.
Great.
So that's where we are. So we just basically would like to withdraw this whole request. But I did want to take a minute just to mention that the SE group, which is doing the master plan, is going to be here next week on the 11th, which I believe is Wednesday, to do interviews with community leaders, interested people, and I've sent all of you an invitation to be on that schedule. And if you have signed up, that's great. I think Jean has signed up. I'm not sure if anybody
No,
else
I have
signed
to be in
up.
Montpelier
And
too.
you're going to be away, but I'm going to bug you if you don't sign up. Because really, it's important for them to hear from all kinds of folks in town. And then at some point after that, we'll start to have a more sort of inclusive, larger community meeting to get ideas and input from the community on what they would like to see here
So that's on the 11th?
on the 11th.
Okay, I think I saw that.
Anything else?
Yeah, before we leave the subject of the agreement, do we want to...
Well, yeah, I mean, just a question, if we were asking for the agreement and so forth, do you have any feedback for us on how you'd be feeling about that, or is that not?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking.
Yes.
It's their job.
Anybody have feedback for
Well, I would
the
support
Friends?
it.
Yeah.
I would definitely support it.
Sounds like you have the
Yeah,
support of the
support.
board.
Okay, good.
Thank
But,
you.
so we thank you for that, but we'll take it off the table for now. And hopefully I haven't wasted your time too much. I mean, this does, I think, bring you up to date on where we are at with things.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work.
It's a process.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, animal holding contract for the Windham County Humane Society.
Okay, so now we have a price.
Yes, we have a price.
We
We
still
have a price
have
and no
an
other
updated
options,
one,
so.
yeah.
There it is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, soldiers and sailors is no
Oh,
longer
yeah,
there.
She couldn't find the exact name, so she wanted to leave it because her boss wouldn't let her change it.
Are you serious?
So
I
I told her, I asked for
about
those
what we
two
do,
changes.
right? I mean, that's,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve and sign the contract with Windham Humane Society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the contract from the Windham Humane Society for animal holding.
I can't get
Um,
550.
I don't know who said
Chris seconded it. That's me.
That's you.
Mm.
Did you vote?
No.
All those in favor of, sorry, I got all
I interrupted him.
wound up in signing this thing. All those in favor of accepting the animal holding contract from the Windham County Humane Society, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed?
This minute writing thing is not easy. No.
I was just gonna ask what the date was, and that would be a really stupid
be
question
really
for me to
bad.
ask today based on it being my birthday.
That's right.
You're wishing that you were
Just
here.
trying to get attention now.
Ah,
That's public.
yeah, it's public. You wanna send gifts and donations? No.
Are you a nonprofit?
I am absolutely non-profit. I got 3 kids. All right, public participation, agenda items only. Seeing none. Correspondence and town admin report, please.
You have all the correspondence now, except for I did this evening get a request from Button Up Vermont. It's something that we can do community meetings in the fall. They give us resources to encourage people to save on heating bills. Is that something you would like as a select board to sponsor me to look into or not?
The first year of this program, when they were trying to get out there, the library sponsored this program. They came with all kinds of stuff, great information. Nobody came. And people missed out on a lot because they have great information and avenues of help.
Would the library like to sponsor it again?
I'm wondering, like that time they sent somebody that actually did the whole thing. You know, they did the presentation, had the materials.
Yep.
I don't know if they still do it that way. I would
So let's
look
find out
into
some more
that.
information about it and go from there. How's that?
Okay.
Make
Yeah.
sense, everybody?
Sure.
Second thing, in your packets, I did include, this wasn't after the last year-end bills came in. There'll be a couple more that are coming in, but just so that you know how we are budget to actuals this year, and we really came out pretty good for the whole thing.
Looks really good, actually.
It's great. The other thing I'd like to see is what the income, especially for the rec, reflected on it.
And
If she could give us how much, or do you know how much?
you would like her to add that to
Yeah,
here?
if she could.
Sure, because we have income from grants.
Right,
and
yeah,
that's for
for all the departments, because that shows a true,
Okay.
Because even if she put that at the end of total funds,
yeah.
I mean, and just on this page, total income, and just broke out what they were from, grants and that kind of thing. If it's a pain in the neck to put them within these reports, she can just put them at the end and list out what money came from where.
But this is awesome, thank you.
Sure. Said it won't be exact because sometimes things come in at the end that get added on there.
Anything else?
And two, if anybody's interested in playing in the VLCT golf outing on August 22nd, please let me know.
I will be playing. We need a foursome. Get your clubs out. Come play with me.
No.
I got 2 sets, Jeff can wear one.
Yeah, I like the way this sounds.
I have my own, but they're pretty old.
That's all right. That's all right. Wood clubs are fine.
Okay, we did close out the emergency operations grant at the end of the year. We did receive the final payment. That was the $15,000 grant for the 2017-18 fiscal year, which went a lot easier than the year before, but we don't think we're gonna do it again. And this last week, we just closed out the 2017 municipal planning grant. And so the planning commission is really done with doing the update on the town plan. They've worked really hard over the last year and a half. At least the narrative part, and the maps. soon to be finished. So once I can finish up some formatting and do some pretty graphics and make it look all nice, I will make sure a copy gets to the select board, but they should be hopefully scheduling their first public hearing in August. So, and there has to be
Thank you to the planning
so-
commission
Yes.
and Michelle and John from Windham Regional for sticking this process out.
And that's it, that works.
Okay. Next regular meeting is, ooh, maybe not, hold on. It's supposed to be July 17th. Am I here? I am here, okay. I am here. So next regular meeting is July 17th. That is it, we are adjourned.